The scent of turpentine and dried blood hung in the stifling air of the yellow house. Vincent van Gogh sat hunched on a wooden chair, a crude bandage wrapped around his head, his world reduced to a throbbing, singular agony that pulsed in time with his frantic heart. The act itself, the cold press of the razor, the shocking severance, was now a distant, surreal memory, eclipsed by the tsunami of shame and despair that followed. Every object in the room, the sunflowers in their jug, the unmade bed, seemed to accuse him. He was a tempest contained within fragile flesh, and the storm had finally broken the vessel. His gaze drifted to the vacant space where Paul Gauguin's belongings had been. Their final confrontation replayed in a vicious loop, Gauguin's cold, retreating back, his own desperate, slurred pleas dissolving into incoherent rage. It was not merely an argument, it was the catastrophic collapse of a fragile bridge built over a chasm of mutual misunderstanding. Gauguin saw chaos. Where Vincent saw truth, saw madness, where Vincent felt divine fire. The rejection was a physical blow, confirming his deepest terror that his intensity, the very core of his being, was monstrous and unlovable. Into this shattered reality, a figure materialized, anachronistic and calm. She was his therapist, a concept as foreign to 1888 Arles as electric light. She spoke not of sin or moral failing, but of dysregulation. She called his anguish emotional lability, his self-destruction a skills deficit. To Vincent, it was the roar of a sirocco in his soul, an inner climate of such violent extremes that peace was a forgotten country. He described the moments when the world would suddenly sharpen into unbearable brilliance, colors screaming, thoughts racing, only to plunge into a leaden void where the brush felt like a stone in his hand and the future was a sealed tomb. The therapist listened, then offered a lifeline woven from strange, practical threads. She called it dialectical. Behavior therapy, she spoke of distress tolerance, of learning to hold the searing pain without being consumed by it. She sketched metaphors of riding a wave instead of drowning beneath it. Vincent, drowning for so long, eyed this theoretical raft with profound skepticism. Yet the raw weeping wound on his body was a testament to a desperation that outweighed doubt. With a weary nod that felt like a surrender, he whispered his reluctant agreement. If this was science, not salvation, he would try. The journey from the crimson-stained floor of his crisis began with a single, tremulous breath, a conscious choice to endure the unendurable storm. The sessions became a strange, structured ritual in the quiet hours. Vincent learned of the wise mind, that elusive synthesis between the hurricane of his emotional mind and the barren desert of his reasonable mind. He practiced, sitting before a blank canvas, breathing through the urge to slash it or flee. The therapist described it as finding the still point within the whirlwind, a place where passion and perspective could coexist. To Vincent, it felt like trying to mix oil and water on his palate, impossible until he considered the emulsifying medium of his own focused will. He applied the skill most fiercely while painting the starry night. The cypress tree was a black flame, the sky a swirling, cosmic vortex of ultramarine and chrome yellow. His emotional mind screamed to lose himself completely, to become the whirlpool and spiral into oblivion. His reasonable mind coldly noted the impractical hour, his exhaustion, the foolishness of such fervor. But in the space between breaths, a third state emerged. His wise mind observed the violent urge to destroy the work or work himself into a fit, acknowledged its power, and gently returned the brush to the swirling stars. He painted not from frenzy, but from a profound, anchored intensity. The distress was not gone. It was a vibrant, thrumming wire he had learned not to grasp. This newfound equilibrium subtly colored his interactions. When Gauguin, in a final, tense visit, critiqued his composition as childish and undisciplined, Vincent felt the familiar heat rise in his chest. The old impulse was to shout, to gesticulate wildly, to prove his vision with violent conviction. Instead, he paused. He noticed the urge as a physical sensation, a tightening in his jaw, a flush on his neck, and let it crest and fall like a wave against a sturdy breakwater. He responded with a quiet statement about the emotional truth of the night sky. Gauguin left bewildered by the uncharacteristic calm, the argument diffused before it could ignite. In these moments of hard-won stability, Vincent dared to reflect on the tragic path he knew too well. Could these skills, this dialectical dance, have altered his destiny? Could he have channeled the torment that fueled Wheatfield with crows without letting it consume him? The duality of artistic passion and mental stability. Life's central canvas. The fire was necessary for the vision, yet it threatened to burn down the artist. The therapy did not seek to douse the flames, but to teach him how to tend the hearth. The chapter closes with Vincent gazing at his completed starry sky, contemplating a hypothetical future where such skills allowed the visionary to survive his own vision, where the painter could endure long enough to see the world begin, however faintly, to see the beauty in his storms.